I think the hero's journey for me started, I was thinking about that. And I feel like it somewhere around the age of 16, a lot of things started falling into place for me. I mean, when things about identity and who I was and who people saw me as, I think uh, that a lot of the artwork I was making as a teenager, they had themes to do with, they were themes that had to do with searching, uh, going on a journey, finding some lost secret, and of course I'm just making these works as a kid, so they weren't like great artworks or anything, but they meant a lot to me at the time. And I think that going through that phase of just, who is my identity, learning that it is to be an artist, and of course that's just the beginning of the journey. It continued on and on, the act of finding oneself, through the pathway of being an artist. And that includes not just how you're looked at in the world by your immediate peers and friends and family, and then later, bigger audiences of people, but it also includes what your work is about. And that's I think for every artist, maybe that is the biggest aspect of their hero's journey is, there's all these years of trials and tribulation that have to do with learning skill and technique to do the kind of work you want to do. But then once you have that, the big question, the big minotaur in the labyrinth that's facing you is, um, what do I paint? What's my subject matter? What are my themes? What am I saying through my artwork? I mean, that is a shadow, a monster. It's a dark inner, um, what's the word? An antagonist that we all have to face as artists in grappling with what are we going to do and say and depict in our artwork. So that was, that was for me a big part of the hero's journey. I think that connecting it to Joseph Campbell's idea of the hero's journey, um, also for me around age 16. Well, I even going back further, I mean, I had grown up with Star Wars from when it first came out. And I'm bringing in Star Wars because it has a strong affiliation with Joseph Campbell, who actually analyzed it in terms of the classical model of the hero's journey from Greek and Roman mythology. I grew up with Star Wars. I was born in 1976. So, I mean, my first memories were looking at the myth of Star Wars, and it stayed really strong with me. The whole idea of the mythos of Star Wars, and appealed to me as a little kid, as a teenager, and I still love it. But I think when I was a teenager, I started to really, I realized that one of the reasons why Star Wars appealed to me so much, even starting at a little tiny toddler age, were the themes of the hero's journey, and I really wanted I wanted the flavor of that, in a broader sense, to inhabit my work. Even if I wasn't cognizant of that when I was 16, but I became more so as I went through college, and I realized that it wasn't just this childhood, interest in, something that's cool with special effects and cinema, but it had a much bigger implications about psychology and mythology and philosophy. And and of course it really just, it's fun and entertaining, but it points the way to bigger historical things as well. So that was a big part of the process, just to reveal a little bit of my nerd side, in my love for Star Wars. But it's important. I think it's
Yeah.
important I think it's important for all artists to really look with seriousness at the things that excited you when you were young, and all along the way, and going back to your roots, in your childhood, especially things that stuck with you in strong visual ways, and I think a lot of these things might be TV shows and movies, but they might just be family photographs that you grew up with, or it could be the cover of an album, or images inside of the liner notes of an album that you loved when you were 12, 16, 21. Um, and though these things that sort of start to populate your visual memory, I think it's really important for artists at every stage of their development to go back and look at those things and say, why did that stick with me? You know, why did that leave such an impact? And if you can figure that out, I think that's a big part of our hero's journey in unraveling what our subject matter is and what our content is and why do we want to say those things? Why do we want to depict certain things like that?